There's just a very rich environment and in every way for both science and technology, but medicine in particular. We're kind of a mecca city in that regard. So WellMan not only participates in that, but drives it. We are a local resource that people can come to with their unsolved problems or with their need to collaborate.
Can you talk about some of the key discoveries, like the GI tract imaging, for example? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So that, as an example, you probably know in medicine that we poke tubes in people a lot just to take a look at things. It's so-called endoscopy. And that requires often a physician. You have to sedate the patient. It's done not without risk. So one of the things that we are interested in is to be able to use optical technologies. In essence, you're just taking a look, like colonoscopy or upper GI, and to take a look by making a microscope that you can swallow, for example. And in the esophagus, when you swallow something, your esophagus grabs it and pushes it down toward your stomach. Dr. Tierney in our lab has produced a device that will image your entire esophagus on the way down, and with extreme accuracy, seeing things that you cannot possibly see just from an endoscopy point of view. At the end of the day, that's a very useful way of screening people for things like esophageal cancer and something called Barrett's esophagus. The same kind of paradigm can be done in other places, the airway, the colon, and we even have strategies to get these kind of microscopes inside your body and leave them in there so that we can monitor what's going on, let's say after an organ transplantation or something like that. So these things all sound very high tech, and it is actually on one end it's very high tech. On the other end, we can actually take optical diagnostics and marry them up with your smartphone and provide a diagnostic that's useful to the consumer themselves. And one of the challenges we face overall in the States, but also in the world, is just the cost of medical care. So a lot of times the new technologies that we can come up with, what drives it is actually being able to provide care, make it more accessible and more affordable. And that's one of the drivers behind this kind of live microscopy.
And to your point, you can also apply it then to other technologies or specialties.
Sure. One of the things so we're probably the best lab in the world for this detailed imaging microscopy in the human body. And one of my dreams is to take that ability to see things in great detail and make it the front end of robotic devices. So you take therapies and you take high-speed imaging, you put them together, and you have a capability that literally doesn't exist right now anywhere in medicine. We haven't done that yet. I'm just saying, there's these opportunities to taking the platforms that we have already invented and discovered and kind of putting them together.
At a place like WellMan, it has a unique capability of focusing on specific problems that it's looking to solve. And the nature of the problems are such that they are solvable, but more importantly, they're important. And in the case of WellMan, the definition of a problem is an unmet clinical need. So the ability to focus on what patients require in ways that patient needs are not currently being met puts a pretty sharp focus on the kinds of innovation and the importance of innovation in an institution like WellMan.
innovation is disruptive. And there are people, for example, who are in the providing of healthcare threatened by the new thing because they may have spent their life training to do some new procedure or whatever, and here comes this new thing that they don't understand. So there's this resistance to change that's there, but ultimately that gives way because all of us want to do better for our patients. And if you just keep that one thing in mind, what is it that's best for the patient, then all of the forces line up. Everybody from the hospitals to the doctors to us at WellMan, the scientists, to the insurance companies even. What is best for the patient is the leading thing. And we try to come up with things that don't make healthcare more difficult to provide or more expensive. We actually, these days, it's actually a very reasonable thing to start on a problem which is well handled by the current healthcare system, but it's too expensive.